What's cracking, YouTubers? In case you don't know me, my name is Shane. Nice to meet you.
Because Shane Dawson was one of the biggest channels that was doing this.
This is a guy who uses basically misleading thumbnails in practically every single video.
Fill the room with the juice. That's a lot of loot. That bit fire. Yeah, she kinda cute.
Don't need any more nigger big shots.
Forever, forever, it's taking forever. It's only a click away. I think. Why isn't this not work? Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. If you're brand new here and you're like, who the hell is this girl? I'm Pearl. Welcome. Hi. If you're wondering why I have these blemish patches on, it is because we have normalized that over here, okay? So if you are ever in public and you see a girl with one of these on, makeup or no makeup, don't say anything. Let her be, okay? Let her be. Let's hop into today's reaction. Today's reaction was actually a requested video, so I don't know how this is gonna be, and it's 22 minutes long, so we'll get you a snack, some dinner, a sip, something, anything to get you through this, because I have no idea what we're getting ourselves into. Now, this was published on February 13th of 2021, and I will put all of the links and everything else down below, so if you want to check out her channel, please do so. Other than that, thank you for requesting, and let's hop into this reaction, because I am curious, and of course, we have the juice, so
How did Shane Dawson get to this point today? How did Shane Dawson go unchecked for so many years?
See,
how did we
for
get
me it was $44.
Here?
You feel me?
That is what we're going to be talking about today. Shane Dawson,
Look how
the man whose career skyrocketed and plummeted all within the same year. From being adored to outraged by the masses. You could say that it was Jeffree Star's fault that Shane Dawson's career flopped due to his involvement and being the fuse that ignited all of the things that have happened this past year. Or you could say that this is karma for Shane because his actions are truly his own and time has finally caught up with him. As his own actions were what led up to these final moments of his career.
You're fake crying. You are fake crying. You are fake crying. That is not real. Oh my God.
Many of us already know what happened in the ever so cleverly named Dramageddon 1, 2, and 3, the third one rather being known as Carmageddon, haha. And a lot of people have already covered so much of what Shane Dawson has done in this past year. There are a lot of phenomenal creators who have made a lot of very fantastic videos covering different aspects of this entire situation, and I'm going to link some below. I digress. To summarize what happened with the entire situation this past year, Shane Dawson associated himself with Jeffree Star, who gave him a very, very, very huge boost in success by creating a makeup palette. However, in that same year, his association with Jeffree Star also led to the downfall of his career, as defending him brought a lot of receipts and clips and videos, what have you, back up in Shane Dawson's face from his earlier days on YouTube.
It ain't never gonna end over here.
Videos resurfaced. The entire Will Smith family essentially denounced Shane. He lost all of his friends and so much more. His online persona was beginning to crack, and we were starting to get a glimpse of the real Shane. The Shane Dawson that Shane Dawson doesn't want you to know exists. But pause.
I mean, technically,
before we go any further, let's go back for a second. Let's rewind to the beginning of Shane Dawson's career. We're going to be diving into some very ancient posts and video clips, and I just want to give you guys a little note here that even though I recall some of these happening with my own memory, as I've been on YouTube for a very, very long time, take what I say here with a grain of salt, because at the end of the day, we do not have the modernized screen caps that we now use as receipts, or as we call them. I digress. This video specifically is going to be going over a lot of different things that I have seen nobody talk about in the last 10 years. The last time I've heard people discussing one of the biggest things I'm going to be bringing up in this video was in 2009. It was a very long time ago, and I think there is a lot of very interesting information that we can go through from that time period that kind of explains how Shane Dawson became who he was, and it's just mind-blowing. We're going back to the roots, we're going back to the beginning, we're going back to the calm before the storm.
Let's go. And you know, if he...
What's cracking, YouTubers? In case you don't know me, my name is Shane. Nice to meet you.
Sad.
All that stuff.
In 2008, Shane Dawson really started popping off with his YouTube career. People were really taking a big liking to his channel, and he was starting to establish an audience of specifically young people. I remember at the age of 13 or 14 years old was when I stumbled upon my very first Shane Dawson video. Ever so ironically removed now from his current YouTube channel, but it's been re-uploaded onto others.
So I was doing a little browsing on YouTube the other day, and I saw that one of the most subscribed people of all time was this kid, Fred.
You see, in the very, very beginning of Shane's career, YouTube was an extremely different place, almost an entirely different website even. And the way that it operated, the features that were on that website, most of them no longer exist today the way they did back then. It is so much more complicated now to get seen in the algorithm, to follow the guidelines, to do everything you can, to even get a moment in the spotlight in today's YouTube climate, when back then it was so simple. And it could quite possibly be people like Shane Dawson that are to blame for the reason why YouTube's algorithms and changes have complicated so much over the years. As you see, while it was much easier to gain success onto YouTube by just being authentic and genuine, people were also much slimier and took advantage and manipulated the algorithms, spammed the algorithms, and have done very shady things in order to cheat the system. That's right, you heard it correctly. Cheating through YouTube. You see, to make it very simple is that if you want to be successful on YouTube, you can't just upload a video and expect it to get clicks and views. You have to make sure that you're garnering enough watch time and getting a good click-through rate. So much strategy goes into it and chess pieces just to get your video to show up to your own subscribers that have already subscribed to you. If somebody uploads a 30-minute video and people only watch like 30 seconds to a minute out of all 30 minutes in that video, YouTube is going to bury that video under a ton of different videos that they will be prioritizing higher than that videos. Back in the day, 10 years ago, what was more important back then was that people were clicking. The click is what mattered. So people would do something called clickbait. And now, to a degree, this is still used to this day, but back then, people would blatantly lie and make up titles that had nothing at all to do with their videos. There's a YouTube channel called The Archfiend. He's somebody that I watch to this day, and he was one of the first people that I have seen calling out Shane Dawson for this type of behavior, because Shane Dawson was one of the biggest channels that was doing this.
This is a guy who uses basically misleading thumbnails in practically every single video.
Look at that browser, you guys.
Precise catchphrases
Take
and
me
words
back.
that are meant to draw in people's attention falsely.
People would call this type of behavior cheating on YouTube back in the day. That's right, you heard me correctly. Cheating YouTube system, a YouTube cheater. It basically meant that they were not gaining views in an organic way, and they were manipulating and abusing the system, the algorithm, to get an advantage over other people who were working hard to create decent content that should have been in the spotlight at the time. Shane was by no means the only person that was doing this at the time, and some people who are still successful and popular today have done this back in the day as well. And again, I want to make this clear. It's not that people are using flashy thumbnails and eye-catching titles that was the problem here. It was the fact that Shane was essentially lying in his thumbnails and titles to get clicks on his videos, to get the views to count. But you see, the Archfiend didn't just call Shane Dawson out for making these clicky, flashy titles. There was something else that was a little bit more manipulative that Shane would do.
For the past 3 videos, Shane Dawson just released his regular little videos on a Shane Dawson TV channel. He would leave the videos up for a day, and a day or 2 later, he would give the video a completely different title and a completely different thumbnail image. If you don't understand why people do that, when you do that a day or 2 after your video is released, you get peripheral viewers watching another video and your own fans watching another video, and they go, "Oh, what's this one about Lady Gaga? Oh, I didn't see this one yet. Let me click it." I don't remember that thumbnail. They click it, And they watch it only to find out it's the same video they already watched. But it's too late. They already clicked the video. They already saw the pre-roll ad, and you already made money off them, Shane. And if you guys don't believe me, look at his past 3 videos. Look at the comments. People are saying out the ass, thousands upon thousands of people going, Shane, why did you change the thumbnail and the title of this video? It's completely different than what it was yesterday. Why did you do that?
You see, nowadays there's something called A&B testing with thumbnails and titles where people might slightly modify them in a certain way, or they might change the thumbnail a little bit, but that thumbnail and that title would still remain on topic and are still surrounding whatever the video's about. Again, this is really because YouTube's algorithms are so tricky now that if you just slightly screw one little thing up, it could mess up your entire video. But back then, what Shane Dawson would do was not just slightly alter his thumbnail or slightly alter his title just a little bit because he liked this thumbnail a little bit better or because he noticed more people were enjoying this thumbnail better. What he would do is instead change the thumbnail and the title so drastically that it convinced viewers that this was an entirely different video. It was so much easier than making a whole new video and uploading it. You would be getting twice the amount of views by doing this because people would click on that video thinking it was new, realize, oh, it's the same video I had already watched, and then click off. That view still counted because watch time wasn't a thing yet. Unfortunately, because this video is so old and Shane Dawson has removed a lot of his old videos from the past 10 years, there's not a lot that we can do to pull up these receipts to see them, and we don't have a time machine to go back and see when he has changed his titles and thumbnails. I don't know if anybody out there has any screen caps of it or if anybody out there has been on YouTube long enough to remember it. So the only proof of this that we have is this video. So again, take what I say with a grain of salt. I do personally remember seeing this happen a little bit, and I know that Shane also wasn't the only one who did this, but I remember him being one of the worst people to do this. And I understand this is so trivial compared to all of the other horrible things that Shane has done, but again, remember, we're going back to see exactly how Shane got to this point in his career. But speaking of going back in time, does anybody out there remember a YouTuber called the YT Watchdog?
Pack your bags and get your dumb ass off of the internet!
The legendary commentary slash drama slash tea channel before commentary slash drama slash tea channels even existed. He has called out many YouTubers who are still successful to this day for starting off by using bots and manipulating the system. And naturally, the YT Watchdog did come after Shane for doing this YouTube cheating. But it wasn't just over his clickbait titles and thumbnails or changing the titles and thumbnails like the Archfiend pointed out.
I'm looking through the garbage. PlayStation, comedy shorts. Hot girl, I'm Catholic girl.
Okay, listen, I know before we even get started here, I'm going to get a lot of comments saying, this exact time frame I ended up clicking out of the video because I couldn't watch. The voice was way too annoying for me to listen to. Listen, this chipmunk voice was peak YouTube entertainment back in 2009, okay?
Hey, friend, and it's really nice out, so I'm gonna go swimming later. No, you hang up. You hang up. No, you hang up.
It is what it is.
It was so,
and unfortunately,
it was so funny back then.
That I can recall that called Shane Dawson out for this. So we're gonna be adults. We're gonna sit down. We're gonna watch this video for the context that it provides. And I don't want to hear anything about the chipmunk voice. Okay? Okay.
This strange account that popped up. Shane Dawson TV2 backup. Agreed. 2 seconds ago. Agreed. 5 seconds ago. Agreed. 8 seconds ago. Agreed. Or Shane Dawson is spamming the station video to get it on the most discussed list. Now, you might say, YT Watchdog. What if it's not Shane? Well, here we go. Website Shane Dawson TV. Yeah. Don't know how you found it, but you did. Yes, how because you spam videos. Hey guys, this is my backup channel. I created a backup because people were threatening to hack my account. So just in case they are successful, I created this account. I need to keep the channel quiet for hacker safety. That is why you won't hear me publicly announce this channel, or to prove to you that I am the real Shane Dawson. For one, it is lame. 2, it is not worthy of my time. And it probably works out better that most people think I'm fake, because it will make the hackers less likely to find this account. This channel is mainly for my sake, in keeping my videos safe, and not losing any in the future. This account is not for a fan purpose. So when I have the time, I will transfer all my TV2 videos onto this account. I don't expect you to subscribe to this channel, but if you do, that is your choice, and I thank you for your support. But don't forget to subscribe to my other channels. Shane, and look, Subscribe. Send me letters. I'm Shane Dawson. Give me a call. I should call you and tell you to stop cheating. Subscribe this week. Only subscribe to Shane Dawson. Shane Dawson 2 and the station. Let's go back to the video and see if he's still spamming. Agreed. 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 5 seconds ago. Agreed. 1 second ago. Maybe we'll go and see if Shane Dawson has
Man, I remember that.
I wonder if he has. Oh wait, it was an hour
YouTube
ago.
has changed.
And let's go back to Shane Dawson's backup. Where Shane Dawson backup? When was that made? Oh, just a few days ago. Oh, Shane Dawson, I need to spam videos because I need attention. And he's still working at it. Agreed. 1 second ago. Agreed. 5 seconds ago.
So the station was a collaborative YouTube channel with several other huge YouTube creators that would make short comedy skits in the form of a YouTube series. And this had a lot of huge creators such as Shay Carl, iJustine, Philip DeFranco, Dave Days, Charles Trippy, and of course, Shane Dawson, as well as many other creators. Again, as we've mentioned earlier, YouTube's entire website and features were different back then. Back then, there was no trending page, but there was sort of a ranking system. You see, there was a ranking system for different topics on YouTube, and there was also a ranking system for the most discussed video on YouTube. So in other words, a video is uploaded onto YouTube and gets a ton of comments in a short amount of time, could end up being on the top list. So if your video was #1 in any of these ranking categories, it would be equivalent to being #1 on trending today. Now, being that Shane Dawson was part of the station and definitely, you know, garnered a bit of success from collaborating with these other YouTubers, it would be within his favor to want to see this channel succeed and to get popular and to get views and to be on the trending page, or, I'm sorry, most discussed. However, as the YT Watchdog pointed out, using his video camera to record his computer monitor like a true 2000s internet hero, Shane Dawson had a backup account for his backup account. It was Shane Dawson TV2 Backup. Interestingly enough, this backup account left a lot of comments on the station's video. Comments were already rolling in at a rapid pace. Every few seconds, tons and tons of comments would show up. But on top of that, every time somebody commented on this video, a response from Shane Dawson TV2 Backup would say, agreed. And it did not matter what the context of any of these comments were. They could say really horrible things and it would still say, agreed. Every time the page was refreshed in the YT Watchdog's video, more and more comments would pop up. This was essentially doubling the amount of comments they were already getting. So if they uploaded this video and got 5,000 comments, the video would automatically get 10,000 comments now, because every single comment that was being left was getting a response from Shane Dawson TV2 Backup saying agreed. And since it wasn't being filtered out in the spam filter, it actually counted as a comment, and this video was ranking on the most discussed page, getting to the top of their what is equivalent to trending.
Alright guys, so I took about 5 minutes and looked back on other station videos. I could not find Shane doing this, but look, while I was gone, agreed. It's 6:06. I started at freaking 5:40. Yeah, about a half hour, and Shane is still online. Okay, so it's 6:14 now, and Shane Dawson still agreed 12 seconds ago. Look at this one. This one got marked as spam. Shane, are you bored? Agreed. And it got marked as spam. Why would that one get marked as spam? I don't know. Agreed. Shane Dawson TV2. 3 seconds ago. Agreed. 6 seconds ago.
Crazy.
Agreed. 10 seconds ago. This is sad. It is now 6:18. I'm going to come back at 6:30 and see if Shane has gotten bored with spamming his video. Okay, sorry about that. Yeah. So I said I'd come back at 6:30 and check to see if there's any new comments. It's now 8:52.
Man, I remember that.
We're still awake for the past 3-4 hours. Shane Dawson, agreed.
So there's 3 things that could have happened here.
So
the
it's like
first
a bot.
is that this was some obsessed fan of Shane Dawson's just wanting to see this succeed, and somehow having the foresight to predict that by commenting so much that they would be top ranking in the trending or most discussed, which first of all is such a weird motive for a fan to do, especially back in those times. A lot of Shane Dawson's fans were kids, so not only would they have to have the logic to like have this foresight, but also even if this was their goal, So why weren't they doing this on Shane Dawson's actual channel? Why were they doing this on the station? And again, we see the description on this channel was apparently a backup account in case he was hacked. There's no way to prove that that was really his account, but at the same time, this just seems very unlikely that this would be a fan. There doesn't seem to be a logical motive for them to do this.
Mm-hmm.
The second is that Shane used a backup account and sat there for hours giving himself carpal tunnel, writing agreed, copy paste for hours until it ended up on the ranking videos. Or the third is that a bot was used with this account, which is actually a possibility because it was very, very common back in the day for people to set their accounts up to send mass comments and messages to people on YouTube to promote their videos. It was against the community guidelines from what I could remember, but people did it anyway and they got away with it. And people also use this to comment on people's videos. Now, people still do use bots to this day to generate YouTube comments, but usually today people use this to generate fake subscribers and fake comments, and you can tell because they're all different accounts. This was just one singular account saying the same thing over and over and over again. Now, like I mentioned, these are three of the possibilities that I could think of. The first, I don't believe is very likely. To me, it just doesn't make sense why a fan would do that, especially, again, considering that the majority of Shane Dawson's audience currently and at the time were children. It just doesn't seem like somebody would have the foresight to do it, and even if they did have the foresight to do it back then,
we know
Shane
did it.
To gain from that.
You ain't gotta explain yourself.
I personally think that it's either the second or the third option, that he either sat there for hours, copying, pasting, agreed, or he could have been using a bot to do this for him on an account that no longer exists, and it would make sense that he would do this on a backup account because in that specific situation, he wouldn't have anything to lose if this account were to be banned from breaking the guidelines. So either way, whether it was a bot or just done manually, copying, pasting every 10 seconds, this was spam, this went against the community guidelines, and this was very corrupt. And if Shane was truly the person behind this, then that goes to show you how far he was even willing to take things then, and how much he was willing to manipulate his own audience and the audience of those around him, his peers, to get to the top of his game. Again, taking this with a grain of salt, this information is so old and obsolete. This is just to kind of observe how we got to this point and how Shane was even manipulating his audience back then. So here's my takeaway from this video. If he truly did cheat his way to the top of YouTube, which I personally believe he did because I also remember seeing him do this years ago, it shows that not only does he not deserve this platform for all of the horrible and disgusting things he has done over the years, for all of his terrible, offensive content, but even from an analytics standpoint, he doesn't even deserve to have a platform because he didn't grow organically. While other creators were working hard to reach success on this platform, Shane abused and cheated the algorithm to reach the top. But because he was such a large creator and YouTube was technically owned by a different person at the time, nobody cared that he was abusing the algorithm because he was bringing in lots of money and lots of views.
Let's chat here for a second. I am not surprised, you guys. If anything, it makes so much sense. Because honestly, back then, being big on a platform, even YouTube, really 2000s, even early 2010s, bots, spam, that was huge on so many different things. Even on MySpace. I remember on MySpace, people would be begging people, like, put me in your top 8, please. Like, I'm trying to get into like so-and-so's top 8 so I can be. And then people will be like, man, so-and-so's in everyone's top 8. Same thing in a different platform, if you will. But Shane doing this then and then where he is now lets us know that it was business and money way before the fun came. Whatever you want to call fun, meaning like being at the top, being the king of YouTube, yada yada, because that money was coming in. Now, let me just say this. If this was a black person, let's just say there was a black Shane Dawson just somewhere in this world, okay? Let's just say. This would have been stopped. It wouldn't have been rewarded. and it would have been called out by multiple people. And it just really adds the thread to the blanket, if you will, of white succeeds on YouTube. Because that is the only thing that makes any sense from my standpoint, from where I'm looking. Because if it was anyone else, I just don't really see it happening on that level. And when I say anyone else, I'm saying anyone else who is not a white male. Okay? Not a white male. I don't know what it is, but we just be putting them on pedestals that don't need to be there, but for some reason we just feed them and put them there. I don't, it's something that needs to change. It's something that needs to be looked at, and that is why there is so many positions of diversity opening up in so many different aspects of companies, so many different industries and fields of diversity consultants, diversity managers, because it is a huge issue that not only is positive and negative for them in both aspects, meaning they get these positive aspects, whether that's being the king of YouTube, getting more money than most, but then that negative aspect that comes in, it's almost if you don't want to put too much punishment on them. It's the same as the black person that's going to prison or jail longer than the white person that's going. I do not like it. It is something that I'm growing more and more interested in the aspect of going into a field of diversity, because this should really never happen. If you look at that person's track record of how they got to where they got to, which I don't really feel like was highlighted a lot when it comes to Shane. I feel like Shane had this abundance of notoriety, and instead of, you know, how did you get here? What did you do? It was just praise, 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 praise. No one questioned. Again, why white male? That's how I see it. Tell me if I'm wrong. Tell me your opinion down below. Tell me your 2 cents. Let me know what you think, and let's see how much change we get, okay? Because I just want to know. That was my 2 cents. Let me know your 2 cents, okay? Let's fill up the tip jar. Now, if you made it all the way to the end, I want to give you a big kiss. Seriously, thank you so much. This was a long video. And if you are new here, do not forget to like and subscribe. Other than that, you guys, I am out of here. It really brings a creator down. And as a creator, you know, I am that. It does bring me down a bit to know that, you know, if I were even remotely to do a little bit of what he has done throughout now or even in the past, wouldn't have gotten the same reaction, wouldn't have got the same accolades. And that's just a fact. Love you guys so much. See you in my next one. Bye.
Pulling out the coupe in the lot, 12 for a SWAT, busting all the bells out the box. Hit the leaf.